Everyone, Dan McGuire with Right at Home In-Home Care and Assistance, and I have the pleasure today of meeting with Dr. Bob over here at the Rancho Cucamonga Optometric Center in Rancho Cucamonga. And today we just wanted to talk a little bit about what Dr. Bob can do for you, how he can help our aging loved ones, and just kind of get a little story of how he's worked with Right at Home as well. So with that said, I just want to introduce the great, the one and only Dr. Bob.
Oh, thanks a lot, Dan. It was really wonderful working with Dan several years ago when my mom started to need care at home. I had no way was I going to put her into a nursing facility. She didn't need it. She lived to be 96 and a half, and actually she only used Dan's services for a little more than about a month and a half. And she was great. They were great coming in. They were great assistants because I'm single, and fortunately she lived only 2 doors down from me. And then she got bedridden, and I couldn't work with her on this dignity purposes, obviously. But his firm was just wonderful in dealing with her right up to the very, very, very end. They were considerate, they were compassionate, and so forth. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention is some of her history, because I have a New York Experienced fan page on Facebook. I want to say we're both from New York, my mother and I. She was born in Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn. I was born in Westbury. She lived in Crown Heights. I say this for you New Yorkers out there, and I'm talking with my accent to make sure you know it's authentic. And we had a great time. She came out here when she was 75, detoured in Florida first, and then came out here. But she was wonderful. She was such a gift, and she was so easy to deal with. And I was blessed to be able to find their firm because it made it a lot easier for me. I'm only a half a mile from where I live.
But you got to work.
But I have to work.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that she, at the end, was kind of bedridden, and they were able to come out at certain times of the day for health care, for feeding, and so forth. But she was cognizant right up to the very end.
Your mom was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, she'd show up at every chamber event, and she never said no to anything. I mean, she lived to be 96 and a half. She drove till 95 and a half. Some people were a little upset in my family about that, but I told them I got power of attorney, and I'll determine when she could stop driving, especially when she says, "Bob, whose car am I driving?" That's when we started to say, "Ma, do you want me to drive?" But she was a fantastic individual, and the people who worked with her felt the same way. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience with them. I'd certainly recommend them very highly. And Dan was the intermediary of me setting up with the firm. Of course, I know them from the Chamber of Commerce, member of Rancho Cucamonga Chamber of Commerce and the Upland Chamber of Commerce. And I know Dan was involved with a lot of golf, which is a project that he's working with, which to me is so exciting because I work a lot with different aspects of sports with vision that deal with golf. And for you son of a guns over 50 years of age, before you get to Dan's other service of needing care at home, you got to be able to look at the pin and look at the hole and go back and forth. And when you're in your 50s, that isn't that clear. We have kind of a helper with that, and we can talk further, but bifocal contact lenses where there's no up and down, because you 50-year-olds know darn well you can't golf with bifocals. Most of you can't. You go up and down and you'll get dizzy. Multifocal contacts have no up and down, and it's been really good. I've had some patients of mine who have really done well with it, not only in golf, but in tennis. Tennis player who's in his 50s says, my game has exploded, where we used to go tie. Now we're going 6-1, 6-2, and they're wondering if I'm taking lessons. No, he's wearing multifocal contacts now, and he can actually see the spin on the ball. Yep. And if you can see the spin on the ball, this is if you're good at. If you're crap like I am, golfing or tennis, doesn't make a difference.
Well, now it's pickleball.
Pickleball.
Pickleball's another one that's coming out.
Exactly.
So.
And the older the people are, the more they're apt for this.
Yeah.
And even people who actually shoot and have to use the sights, the only way you can do that, bifocals are tough in your 50s. You can't focus between distance and the sight, but with multifocals, it does help a hell of a lot. Yeah. And I wanted to just get that in there for you.
Yeah, no, you make a perfect point. And I actually have a story regarding my eyesight, my vision. When I was 3 years old, I was actually a drowning victim where
Wow.
I was underwater about 4.5, 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And fortunately, I survived. That's a whole nother story. That being said, when I got to the age of 5 and I was playing t-ball, my parents noticed that I was missing the ball on the tee by about that much.
Wow.
And what they found out was that my muscularity in my eyesight in one of my eyes was almost completely gone. And so my eye would drift.
They didn't coordinate.
Yeah, they did not coordinate.
And if you don't think, this is some people in basketball, their eyes are not straight, they don't coordinate, you don't have depth
No,
perception.
and that was it. So I had very, very, very little depth perception. I had to go through a surgery. I had to do eye patching for about 3 to 4 years to strength train my eye.
And that's
was
fortunate, and it worked, right?
It worked.
It's really fortunate it does, because it does
worked.
not work with everybody, and a lot of times it's because the parents or the kid don't have the perseverance to actually wear that patch all the time. And surgery, just because the eyes are cosmetically straight, doesn't mean they're functionally straight, where you don't, and if they're not functionally straight, you don't have depth
Right.
perception.
And so when I was in high school and right around the age of 16, I would still wear glasses, but as a high schooler, I kind of got sick and tired of wearing glasses, and so I started looking into contact lenses
Right.
and that sort of thing. However, they bothered me so much, and I had astigmatism, and it just
Were they hard lenses?
yeah, and it was
Now they make soft lenses for the same problem.
it was difficult. And so, but while I was going through that process, I would be practicing my golf game. I was on the golf team, and at one point I just finally took my glasses off and was playing golf, and I was hitting the ball great. And I'm like, okay, this is great.
Now, were you able to see where the ball was going?
Probably not, but I could hit the ball and it felt great.
Good.
However, about a week went by before I went to go hit balls again, and at that point I put my glasses back on. And that depth difference, I had trained my swing to hit the ball purely without my glasses. And so I took my glasses off, and I played with my glasses off, because the frame, when I would look down in my stance,
Exactly.
would get in the way of my view. So I learned to play without seeing, because I hated having that issue.
Which brings up the issue, when you individuals who are golfers, or tennis players, but particularly golfers, are getting sunglasses, and I mean maybe non-prescription, make sure you take the stance with the glasses on, and that lens is deep enough so you don't see the edge of it. Otherwise, it's going to be worthless. The second thing for you golfers out there, don't get polarized lenses for golf. And if you want to really screw up your competitor, buy him a pair of polarized, because you cannot read the greens, because it gets rid of all the shadows, the polarized lenses.
Yeah.
Great for water, great for fishing, lousy for golf and putting.
I have noticed that, because I have used polarized sunglasses, and it does take the glare completely off the greens, and the lighting, the shadow, and everything's light, right? So if you don't have contrast, it's very difficult to read breaks. That's an excellent golf tip.
And that's only for really good players. Like I said, putts like me, golfing the ball, and that means something else for you people out there, especially from New York.
New York.
Jeez.
By the way, with our company, with Right at Home, we are a global franchise. So it's kind of cool to help somebody from the East Coast. We're out here on the West Coast, but one of the greatest things that we get to see in our industry is all walks of life, and the stories we hear, because 90% of the people we help are our elders.
Yep, and like I said, I would certainly recommend his company for any people who, I don't have many relatives left in New York back there, but I would certainly recommend it. And like I said, my fan page for New York is Facebook.com/New York, spelled out fully, experienced, with an ED on the end. We have about 9,000 followers. I put a lot of buildings. I put Yankee Stadium up there. I put all sorts of stuff, because I went back 6 times last year, because I love filming the whole city. And, funny story, I just want to mention this to you. One of the big PGA tours in New York is Beth Page. And I've golfed that black course before. And let me tell you something, those New Yorkers are really something when they're watching. So first of all, they yell.
They're a lot of
Secondly,
fun.
they tell their favorites how the greens are going to break.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember
They want
that?
them to win.
Yeah.
Phil Mickelson was up there, and he would get the crowd behind him, and they were giving him tips for sure.
Yeah, they tell how the ball. It was really an unfair advantage, seriously. But only in New York you hear that crap.
Well, I'll tell you that he had mentioned it a little earlier. Yes, I'm with Right at Home, but I am working on another venture where I'm bringing the game of golf inside out here on the West Coast, and everybody thinks I'm crazy because it's so beautiful in sunny Southern California.
Yeah, tell about the last week of beautiful weather.
Right. It was quite the storm. Yeah. But that being said, he mentioned Bethpage Black. Well, Bethpage Black is one of the golf courses that are on our state-of-the-art simulators.
This is so interesting for me to be able to do that.
I do it here.
And to be able to golf these courses, simulation is I can't even fathom it until
it's different.
And I'm a pretty good visualizer. I've got attention deficit, but I could visualize things. And I'm going to really be anxious to see what it is.
So the biggest difference between what we're doing and what the old general type of golf simulators that were out there is that those are all virtual based. They use a software to design what they think the golf courses and the depths of those golf courses would be like. What we're using is technology specific to high definition golf, which is the company we're using. And what they do is they actually inlay in high definition the actual golf course itself on the screen. How they do it is they go to the courses, for example, Bethpage Black, and they go to the golf course and they LiDAR scan the entire golf course.
Wow.
And they take tens of thousands of images of every aspect of the course, and then they lay that into the geographical model that is the geographics of that area. So when you're playing it on our screen, the depths of the slopes, the hills, and the visuals are exactly like if you were there. And that's what we're doing.
No, the only PGA tour I ever went to, you ever hear of Baltusrol?
Yeah, of course.
It's in Jersey.
Beautiful place.
Well, somebody's got to live in Jersey, as Archie Bunker would say. But anyway, beautiful course. And I saw one of the golfers. I don't want to give the name, but boy, he was pissed when he hit in the woods. But I think it came down between Nicholas and Aoki.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think
that's probably in the late 80s?
Early 80s.
Early 80s? Okay.
I think it was 1981, 82, something like that. Okay. And I got to, it's amazing the condition of these courses. First of all, the aprons are almost like greens.
They're immaculate.
The manicure of this is so fantastic that, God, it was a lot of, it was interesting going to that.
Well, it's going to be neat to see your take on a couple of things. Just obviously your experience with travel, but seeing the golf course is what we're going to have on the simulators. But then also from a visual aspect, how is somebody going to look at this bright screen? What if they have some visual problems? What if they have some vision problems? And because it's such a different dynamic and a different environment. The lighting's different. It's not outside, so it's probably a little bit more comfortable on the eyesight because we have dimly lit areas because you want to see the nice bright screen, and you don't got the sun blaring in you. And I will tell you, as a golf professional myself teaching, one of the very first things our instructors told us when we were going to our schooling was to wear sunglasses, and because you don't want to get melanoma and different skin cancers. Because through the eyesight, that's how that happens.
Yes, and you're talking about in the eye.
Correct.
Now, there's three things. Dan brought up one of them, which I probably would have forgotten. The melanoma could occur with extreme non-use of sunglasses in extreme sunlight. Secondly, cataracts, which I'm developing one. But I have one sunglass.
Well, you're 97 years old, aren't you?
Don't look damn good.
Oh, you look fantastic.
Damn. Actually, 91.
91, baloney.
Okay. No, actually... But also the third thing, and most importantly, especially if there's a propensity for it in your family, is macular degeneration, which that's the worst thing that you can really get. The macula is central fixation. So if you can imagine, if you were looking at something, let's say dead on, a target, and you look a half an inch off, you look at something else, see if you can read that target off to the side. You can see it, but the definition is not there. And so that is the worst thing, and it's definitely from exposure. Now, also coming to think of it, when you're mentioning this, sometimes there's various eye vitamins, if you're a golfer, to use, especially if they have lutein and zeaxanthin. Got to be careful with some of the eye vitamins, because some people, Dan, are taking a lot of vitamins already. And if you're taking the eye vitamins, a lot of them have the ingredients of zinc and all the other vitamins from A to Z and some of the others. There are some eye vitamins that just have lutein and zeaxanthin, and those are the two things. Zeaxanthin is ZEA, and then it's either XANTHIN or ZANTHINE.
So what you're saying is you got to consult if you're going to be taking vitamins, supplements, and different things. Don't just willy-nilly do it. Consult a physician.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to take those vitamins even if you don't golf, because to protect against macular degeneration is so unbelievably important as far as that's concerned.
Well, I'll say that, first of all, you have an amazing place here.
Appreciate that.
It's, anything you need probably from prescription to sunglasses to getting your eyes checked out. I know a lot of people that use Dr. Bob for their vision. And so what I would want to ask is if somebody had some issues and they wanted to consult a physician and a professional, how do they get a hold of you, Doc?
Well, they can call our office. That's the easiest way. It's 909 area code 980-3535. We're even open on Saturdays. I just want to give one shameless plug for a couple of things.
Okay.
Well, I'm shameless anyway.
Okay.
One is the book, Looking Good, My Passion for Optometry and the Lives I've Changed. There's many different anecdotal stories in there. Anecdotal meaning individual stories. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. That's Dragnet. This one doesn't even know who it is.
Just the facts. Just the facts. I get it. I'm
yeah. So
I got you.
So anyway, it goes into various stories of lives I've changed. We had individuals, for example, who've had headaches and blurred vision, which everybody does, but this one had a blurred optic nerve, had a peripheral vision test where you check each eye, one eye here, and if the defect, missing vision, is the same in both eyes, generally speaking, it's going to be the brain problem. It was with this lady. They took it 2 weeks later, finally got in to see somebody.
Yeah.
It was really too long.
Yeah.
Had a 1/2 inch aneurysm in the brain.
Oh my goodness.
They operated on it immediately once they found it. Ruptured on the table. She lost one eye, but she was normal. You get an aneurysm that bursts in the brain, you generally don't do too well right afterwards. And generally, it's fatal.
Well, yeah.
So this is the kind of things that I'm certainly excited about. And I just want to give one more bit of advice, because we got all ages here. I gave it to this nurse. She was a patient of several days ago. I've known her for 20 years. She said they checked this patient because he had headaches and all sorts of dizziness. Mm-hmm. You can have a type of glaucoma called closed angle. Normally glaucoma is a silent disease where you can go blind. This one isn't so silent. Headaches, fatigue, nausea, especially if you're in dark light. You can have what's called a closed angle. If you can imagine, this is one structure in the eye called the cornea, the front surface. There is the color part of the eye called the iris, and there's the angle. That's where the fluid drains from. If it starts to close up, you can spike that pressure. It's rare, but what happens in the dark is that the pupil dilates, goes right into that angle, and you can, a person with glaucoma can have pressures of 25, 26, 30. These pressures go up to 60, and they're hard to bust that pressure. And the nurse was telling me, yeah, the patient had the pressure of 61.
Oh my God.
She did not equate the problems of the patient because they never told her. This is just something rare, but if it happens to you, when a person starts getting nausea, headache, especially around the face, it could be that the angle of the eye is closing up and the pressure is spiking incredibly high, much more than normal glaucoma.
Yeah, so if you ever have any symptoms or anything like that, and you just nobody can figure out what it is, you check with the eyeside.
Check with the ophthalmology, especially in this state. That's a medical specialist with eye disease and surgery. And it's got to be looked at quickly. And don't take no from as an answer from your HMO. Just tell them what you've heard, and generally they will respond to it very quickly. Because if you have some intelligence, what you're doing, and some knowledge, they'll respect you quite a bit more than what it is. Just say you heard it. It might not be that, but it could very well be that. Rare, but it did. And the reason I bring that up is because I've been always threatening to dilate my sister.
Oh.
You met her.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
And she says, Bob, she's from Florida, so I never really dilate. She says, you could dilate me. And she had a really narrow angle. If I dilated her, I could have shut that angle down and spiked that pressure. So we referred her to the ophthalmologist where she lives in Florida, and they did a laser where they put holes in the iris of the eye, very simple procedure, to help keep that from ever happening. And
You can tell this man loves this stuff.
Oh, I've been doing it. And by the way, I've been doing this for over 40 years.
There you
I
go.
started when I was 10, like Dookie Howser.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I'm very fortunate. I've been in the same center here for about 34 years.
Wow.
And I love it. And, you know, the patients love it. So, a funny story. So this guy goes to me, he says, "You're OG." I said, "Old guy?"
right.
And I go, "What?" And I heard this from a few people. He says, "No. It stands for," and for only older people like me don't understand it. It stands for original gangster.
That's
or
right.
the way I talk. And so he
That's
says,
right.
"You're triple OG."
That's right. You've been here a while.
So just the attitude that I have, and I found out that's really a compliment, I believe.
It is. It's a testament to your length of time and here at helping
and the whole attitude
Yeah.
that we have here. But I love it. I've been part of this community. Like I said, I opened up in 1989, and it's really what the advantage of being in a private practice and not being controlled by corporate or anything like that. I'm a solo practitioner, never had a partner, good or bad or indifferent. And the other thing we do, which is really, if there's any questions that I have regarding care of a patient, I refer them.
Yeah.
We have a great facility, Western University.
Okay.
And they have the College of Optometry there. And I deal with a lot of kids. People say, "When should I get my child examined?" You can't talk. How do you examine them? I would say if you want to really be sure, do it at 6 months. They take care of that. Not I. I don't really see the patients in my office until they know letters. But these individuals are able to see them. And I would say if you've got, especially if you have insurance, there's no excuse why not to take the time to send them down to the optometry school there and do it, because they take they deal with everybody tremendously. I had patients who had Down syndrome, and they were so amazed. Instead of waiting 4 hours to see a pediatric doctor, they go there, they might be there for 4 hours, but they're only waiting 15 minutes. They're testing them. They had a support group for these individuals.
That's amazing.
And it really is. I've had patients who have autism. I'm able to determine some of the prescription by just subjecting me to looking at them with a light and just to smile. And they will grab for the glasses back. They can't articulate what it is, but any improvement that you show these parents, they love it.
Yeah. No, you know, what a wonderful practice. I will attest to Dr. Bob being a community member. And I've only been in the community now, I think I'm working on 10 years with Right at Home in home care, but I've been in the community for about 16, 17 years. And he's been one of the first people I've ever been able to see in action and to learn from. So in closing, you know, I just want to put some data out there for you. To get a hold of Dr. Bob, what's that phone number again?
909-980-3535. We're in the Ralph Shopping Center at the corner of Baseline and Haven, in, of course, Rancho Cucamonga.
Very cool. And I'm Dan McGuire with Right at Home in Home Care and Assistance, and our number is 909-466-5472. If you have a loved one who just needs a little bit of assistance wherever they call home, that's what we do. So, and then of course on the horizon, there's a nice, great complex coming up.
I'm so excited about that.
Just so everybody knows, it's actually called Links 52. You could go to links52.com.
And why the 52 again?
So you can play golf 52 weeks a year, my friend.
I
Play golf every week.
don't
of the
think it
year.
has something to do with a deck of cards.
Yeah, well, don't worry, we'll have cards there too, for sure. There's
Gonna have a crap table there?
no comment. And so, but the idea is I'm opening a venue that will allow us to bring community together, to provide an area for fundraising, for community gatherings, business functions, the hardcore golfers to just better their game in a much quicker amount of time. The idea was play golf in half the time and for half the price. And that's what we're doing. So I can't wait for that to happen. But right now, our goal is to help our aging loved ones in all fashions and all lights. And, you know, getting to talk with Dr. Bob and sharing your stories, what a pleasure.
Let me ask you one quick question. It came to me. I don't know if it's relevant or not regarding your establishment.
Sure.
With the golf. If people, for example, can't walk a course, or can't stand. Wouldn't this be something that they can get total excitement out of, get the thrill back, even though physically they can't do it?
That is an absolutely accurate statement. If you're,
How about them apples?
If you're out there and you can't get around the golf course anymore, you can't lug the bag around, and it's just becoming a little bit more taxing. We're creating a venue where you don't have to walk anywhere, and not to mention you'll have a beverage attendant on every hole.
Can I just mention one more thing?
Of course.
That happened, and this is a true story. It's really important. Another reason to wear sunglasses or some form of glasses.
Okay.
I had a patient who was hitting out of the sand trap. The ball ricocheted off the lip of the trap, smacked him in his glasses, knocked him out, knocked the lens out. But because he had the protection, and you always want to wear polycarbonate lenses when you golf, one, it blocks out ultraviolet, and two, they're way the most resistant to breakage. Glass lenses, forget about it. Plastic is good, polycarbonate's better. And he did not lose his sight or anything.
It saved his eye.
It saved his eye. And I've heard that before on the golf course.
And that actually, playing baseball when I was younger, I used to wear, because I wore glasses, you'll probably know this, I had what was called rec specs. And I had these almost like Chris Sabo back in the day on the Reds, had those goggles. And I got hit with a line drive bad hop right to the eye. And it hit me so hard that the frame of the spectacles saved my eye. It actually cut my cheekbone. And they said if I was not wearing those, my eye would have been on this side of my head.
And one more relevant, not relevant to this conversation, but soccer players too, for all you guys who are playing soccer and your kids too, you get a soccer ball in the eye, you think that thing's big enough that it's not going to hurt you? You can get a detached retina. So thoughts, wear the rec specs or wear some form of protective eyewear, because let me tell you something, you get that ball hit in the eye, you can actually get a detached retina. And the pediatric ophthalmologist will be a true attestation to that.
Yeah, take care of your eyes, everybody, and take care of your lives. And if you ever have any questions, reach out to either one of us. We're here to help you, and we're here to serve. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
It was a pleasure. It was
I really
great.
appreciate it.
Okay, Dan, take care.
Wonderful. All right. Perfect. It didn't record. I'm just kidding.